Welcome to Gosroth Tutorials. I'm Gosroth, and today we're going to dive into avatar scaling. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tutorials. And for our returning viewers, thank you for your continued support. Also, don't forget to join our Discord server to connect with our community and share your thoughts. And if you love our content, consider supporting us on Patreon to help keep these tutorials coming. Links to both will be in the video's description below. So I've already created the world, and I have a couple objects. I have a spawn point, a trigger, and a cube. First things we need to do is we need to create a script. We do not need to turn on any API for this. The default core API is all that we need, so we do not have to worry about script settings. All we have to do is create a new script, and I'm going to call this avatar scaling. We do, however, have to make it a local script since we are modifying the player. So we'll click on the three dots next to avatar scaling, go down to execution mode, and change it from default to local. And we will place it on the trigger. So we're going to click on the trigger. We're going to scroll down to script and attach script avatar scaling. Currently nothing is going to happen if I put play, but if we open up this script, three dots, and open an external editor. So here we are with a brand new script. I don't care for importing everything. I only import what I need. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of this HZ here. And we will add component, because we need component. And I'm going to go to Edit, Advanced, and format my document. And if you're curious to what IDE I'm using, I am using Visual Studio's Community 2022. So the first thing we need to do is we need to connect to the on player enter trigger event. So in our pre-start, we'll create a pre-start here, and we will create a code block event. We'll connect to the code block event. In order to do that, we will go this.connect, and we have code block event. Since this script is going to be attached to the trigger, we can go this.entity. It's a code block event, so for our event, we will start typing in code block, and it's code block events with an S, and then we can add our period, and that should give us a list of all of the code block events that we can connect to. And we want on player enter trigger. We'll double click on that. If we hover over on player enter trigger, it tells us that we get a player variable. So I'll just type in player. I don't want to do this inline. I don't like doing inline events, so I'm going to create a separate function to handle this. So I'm just going to send that over there. I'm going to call it on player enter trigger, and it's going to require a player variable, and then we can just close out this line, and then we will create a new event, call it on player enter trigger. And right now this would error because we're not actually requesting a player, so we're going to type in player of type player. So we'll just go down to player, and we notice that player and code block events automatically added. It does not always do this, so if you do get an error, make sure your spelling is correct and then try to import it. Now that we have our player trigger connected, we want to scale the player when they enter the trigger. However, we don't know what exactly we want to scale them to yet. There is a couple variables that we could. So our max scale is 50, and then our smallest or our min scale is 0.5 or 0.05. Sorry. So we're going to create a array, a private number array called scale sizes, and it's going to be of type number array, and we're going to set that array to our min, which is 0.05, 1 is which is the standard scale, and 50. I'm just going to show you what they look like, but I don't actually want to use these. So when the player enters the trigger, we want to cycle through the scales. So we're going to create a const, so constant, and this is going to be called index. We'll just call it index. And what we're going to do is we're going to set that to this.scale_sizes.index of, and the index of will be player.avatar_scale.get. Actually, let's change const to let, because I want to be able to change that. And then index will equal index plus 1. We need to wrap that in brackets, and we're going to use modulo, and then it's going to be this.scale_sizes.length. This will prevent index from becoming larger than the length of the array. Index plus 1 will increase by 1, so 1, 2, 3, whatever, until it reaches length. Once it reaches length, it will be set to 0 and then start back over. And then we can set player.avatarScale.set, and it will be this.scale_sizes, and we'll use our index. And this will cycle through the scales for the player. If I hit play and I enter, now I'm this really massive guy, and if I enter it again, let's see if it'll even work. Now I'm really tiny, and I'm going to go back into our script, but I'm going to change it from 0.05 to 50 because it makes a little more sense. It is suggested that you do it when you teleport the player, and I want a spawn point. And let's see if I remember the syntax would be type, and then prop types, and it's going to be of type entity, and we don't really need to give it a default. I guess we could try default, but if the default would be undefined. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the spawn point even exists. So what I usually do is at the very top, I'll go if not this dot prop spawn point. I will console dot warn, and I will say spawn point is null or missing, and then I will return. So now I don't have to add the exclamation mark, this dot props dot spawn point. I don't have to add the question mark or the exclamation mark, because I'm already determining that it has been set. Dot as we have to cast it as a spawn point gizmo. So we're going to go down to spawn point gizmo, and this has to be up here. So you notice it didn't actually update up here, so I have to manually put it in there as a spawn point gizmo. And we're going to teleport player, and the player being the player that entered the trigger. So now if we wait for the script to recompile, hit play, enter. Oh, I forgot to set it. And see, that's a good thing that I added that warning, because now it's telling me, hey, you forgot to set it. So now I can just go in there and set it. And that's why I add that. So now if I hit play, it teleported me back. I'm bigger. Now just to recap on everything, all I have is a spawn point, trigger, and cube. The trigger is set to player and is holding our script and has our spawn point set to the spawn point variable. If I go to the script, it is set to local. Since I am modifying the player, it has to be local. And if I go to our script, I am importing code block events for our player and a trigger component, because I need to. Player, because we are requesting a player variable in our player and a trigger event. Prop types, because we are needing a props definition for our spawn point, and spawn point gizmo to teleport our player. These are the only required imports from horizon.core. See, we have our spawn point as a props definition. I have a number array for our scale sizes, which is 0.5, 1, and 5. And then before we start, I always put my connections in pre-start. We're going to this stack co-block event on this entity because the trigger is holding the script. That's why I use this entity. We have our co-block events, and on player enter trigger, we are sending player variable to this on player enter trigger event, and then on player enter trigger, we have our player, and then we are checking to make sure that spawn point has been set. If it has not, then we are going to print a warning saying, hey, the spawn point is no longer missing. Don't forget to reset it. Another thing you could do is say spawn point is null or missing on, and then you can add this entity.name.get. That way it prints the name of the object, because it doesn't always do that. If we go over to here and I say, let's set that to none quick, and if I enter this trigger, spawn point is null or missing on trigger, because that's just the name of the object. It doesn't actually say what object is holding the script, because object here is NA. It does tell you what script it was on, so you could filter that and then attach scripts, avatar scaling, and you get down to your object that way. But it's just another nice to have. Go const player scale equals this, and then scale size index of player scale. That way it's a little bit easier to read. So player scale is the player scale, and then we're getting the index of the player scale from scale sizes, and we're setting that to index. Then we're setting index to index plus 1. So if index is 0, then 1, 2, 3. However, if it does eventually reach the scale's length, modulo will return 0. So then we're setting the player scale to our item, and then we're respawning the player. And that is all I have for today's video. Again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tutorials. And for our returning viewers, thank you for your continued support. Also, don't forget to join our Discord server to connect with our community and share your thoughts. And if you love our content, consider supporting us on Patreon to help keep these tutorials coming. Links to both will be in the video description below. Again, thanks for watching and have a good one.